Okay, we are live. I am going to be responding to and looking at a few of the comments I get um, on a video that I recently made. The video is obviously More Than Two Genders Reloaded, as you can see. And I wanted to look at the comments I'd received from the Bearing fans who came here following a Bearing video on it. And essentially, look at the sort of logic or lack thereof they were applying to the situation. So we'll scroll down. I pinned this comment to indicate my point, namely that gender is a binary. Is the initial claim being made. It's the sort of start of the argument here. It's the logic of which you need to deny the existence of non-binaries and those you argue there's more than two genders because you're arguing this. And consequently, this is normally based on a few ideas around gender, namely gender's genitalia. So you see people saying, "Oh, look in your pants," as their argument for why gender is a binary. But you'd need to prove that gender is genitalia, and you can't. You won't be able to. There's no proof for that. Gender is determined by chromosomes. Again, there's another one which is pretty empty because, like, how do you prove that chromosomes decide which gender you are? So yeah, throw that out of the window. And then gender is sex, which is essentially both arguments you just presented thrown into one. And you get their point there, and it's again wrong because there's no proof for it. And because there's no proof for it, you reject it. In science, in critical thinking, the person who makes the claim must provide evidence for it, so it's be accepted. And thus, gender is a binary. The claim is incorrect. You can't prove it. So then, how can you make the argument that gender is a binary, but there's only two genders when you have no proof to back that up? And so subsequently, you have no actual basis to throw out of the window non-binary and trans people and the like. Thus, you can't say gender is a binary. And non-binary and people of a similar disposition are perfectly valid, regardless of how you feel, because science are feelings, guys. But here we go. Let's have a look at the responses. Biological sex is determined at birth. According to your X and Y chromosomes build, you asked us to prove it. Biology. Great proof. So what? Gender is chromosomes. Where's the proof there? Like, it's just absent from this post. Biology, just one word tacked on, like not even capitalized or anything. Great. 22 upvotes, but no proof. Starting to think it's feelings over science there. UBBGN said, it might seem odd to you, but we can say the same about you with one major difference: science to back it up, ever you like it or not. So if your penis doesn't tell you something about your gender, it might be too damn small. What an answer. I mean, the logic here is amazing. So this goes back to genitalia determining gender, as I just said in the little intro there. No proof there whatsoever, and despite the fact he says science to back it up, but there's no science there. He's just sort of said that it is. And given the nature of that last line, don't really think he's the best advocate for science, to be honest. Mason Bilberry, gender is made up and not granted in any sort of hard science fact. Now, when he says made up, he really means, oh, it's in your head. And whilst it's true that it's not a physical thing, you can't physically sort of touch a gender. It doesn't mean it's made up. Thoughts and emotion is a large part of the human psyche. It's quite an important part because it's emotion. It's what separates humans from just common mammals, because we have the capacity to think and feel and go beyond just basic survival skills. So yeah, he's basically saying this and sort of reduced this down to the sex argument, biological sex, which he would then try and argue there's only two. And that's sort of disingenuous because it ignores that gender is indeed an actual thing. And there is a distinguishable difference between sex and gender. This guy says, I'd like to argue a silly statement any day. Save me some time. Please provide your proof for that so-called fact. I'm guessing he's responding to Mason. Interesting that he demands proof for someone else's, but can't prove his own point. Okay, so they're both responding to Mason here. The Earth is flat. Fact. Okay, so he's making a joke there. People's IQ. I mean, people who judge things on IQ should probably be finding some better values to go by. But still, regardless, Chris Money. Truth is that the Earth is flat, and there are only two sexes. People like this guy are mentally ill. It's quite ironic because he's sort of said two false statements there, and then sort of said someone else is an idiot. But anyway, as a friendly Cameron Thievenickel, as a friendly reminder to those who say biological sex is determined at birth, nope, it's determined 18 to 20 weeks in the womb. Some of the first sonograms will show sex, just as full detail, but it's really easy for people who are not in the field to forget important details. Biology is real. There isn't some doctor that assigns a sex, as is often mentioned. It just doesn't work that way. So what they really mean there is designating, or they're talking about how chromosomes and stuff in the body like form whilst you're being formed as like an embryo and stuff, egg cell. And yeah, obviously, no one's sort of saying that these chromosomes, the genetic makeup of your body doesn't exist. No one's saying that. What we're saying is that a biological sex is not the same as gender. And regardless of those chromosomes in your body, you can't then use that to just rule out the existence of any other gender or suggest that your gender is permanently fixed to the chromosomes, because you need to show proof of that. No one's saying that these doctors are wrong and their years of study has just been thrown out the window. But what we are saying is that you have to make the distinguish. There's a difference even between gender and sex. Friendly reminder, honestly, you have like sneering going on. Me now expect that you are talking about gender expression, not gender. No one occupies a position on this spectrum of gender by simply existing, unless you are referring to their physical sex. How they express themselves is not the same as their sex gender, which is a binary. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be able to procreate. Well, that's not like sex/gender is a binary. Where's your proof? You're just saying this and expecting people to accept it. And yeah, sure, gender expression, but that essentially is gender. That what like and people's gender is pretty subjective in their mind. How do you determine how someone else feels about their gender? Like biological makeup of the body, yeah, that's not subjective. But gender, like what it's in the mind. It's how you feel and think about things. It's made up of societal constructs, essentially. So yeah, it doesn't. Why would gender be a binary? It's ridiculous. There's no proof provided here. Again, sex/gender. If it wasn't able to procreate, so what if there was another gender? Like, just everyone would just die out because procreation would just stop happening. Right. He's responding to Cameron's comment. Well, yes, it's just traditional to understand we didn't use to determine sex until after birth. Well, yeah, exactly. Like, no one's like when we say assigned gender, it's like when a doctor says, "Oh, it's a boy, it's a girl." Like that, they're not like wrong technically if they're like looking at the genitals and saying, "Oh, it's a boy." Then yeah, fine, it's a male, like biologically, fine. But well, technically, but biologically, it's sex shows it has male chromosomes and stuff. But that doesn't necessarily mean that its gender is male. All it means because gender can change, can't it? Regardless, Simon, Aaron McDonald, you are a complete idiot. Great comment. No even substance there, just empty. 9 net votes, of course, though, because gotta reaffirm your belief, guys. For a good time, sex is biological. Thanks. Udemy. I'll read that another time. Yeah, there's more biology in sex than there is in gender, but I wasn't disputing that. So don't see the point. Bearing. Here we go. Wow, Owen, I'm not trying to fudge anything, and you have not answered my question. Who said I had to answer your question, Bearing? I never asked you to make a video about this. It's like share it with your fans, like, oh yeah, answer my question. Let's keep this really simple. Do you think there are more than 2 biological sexes? Yes/no. Thanks. Well, I like how he's sort of just skimming over gender because he knows he can't prove the gender binary, nor can his fans. But regardless, science and studies are sort of showing sort of interesting work around intersex and the possibility of a third sex and more and stuff. So it's interesting stuff. I recommend reading it. However, sex and gender is different. So yeah, I don't see how this contradicts what I've said in my video. Here's my response. Question was posed in this video first was supposed to be ask Bearing, yada yada. I essentially just said yes to him. Screwy says, to a certain extent, my pose the following question: is biological sex determined by chromosomes? If so, are people with trisomy 21, etc., cried chat, Down syndrome, separate genders, poor sophistry? I think this guy is a fucking idiot. Just I feel like every person or every other person like can't make a comment about like insult. Just it's so I find it quite sad really that people are so constantly angry about topics like this. They have to just constantly be like abrasive and aggressive and stuff. I mean, there's more important things in life, guys. But anyway, you notice how sex and gender has sort of been conflated here by the guy. He's trying to say, oh, if sex is chromosomes, then do these chromosome differences and deficiencies count as separate genders? Which just that's not what anyone was saying. No one's saying that having Down syndrome makes you a separate gender. In fact, we're saying that chromosomes don't determine gender. I don't really see what he's trying to say. Cameron, Owen, genetic mutations in brackets intersex don't count as a different sex. You know this. You know this. Like how like smug you have to be, honestly. Like, well, no one's like as I said, I think I said in the initial comment, like there is research going into the possibilities of a third sex, but it's not like science is just not considering it. Scientists have been exploring this quite a while, regardless of how you feel about it, Cameron. As I say, your feelings do not matter when it comes to science. You know this, wink face. Anyway, this video is about gender. I don't see much proof of gender binary thrown my way, which is a good point because all these people are talking. I don't see anything which shows any sort of resemblance of good logical reason or evidence for the gender binary, which is what I was discussing in the initial video. Anyway, that had nothing to do with my feelings, Owen. You try and slink away from the main points of nearly every post. You are by far one of the most dishonest people on YouTube. Like, oh god. So I mean, he's saying, "Oh, you're dishonest," but I don't see. The point of my post is to ask people to prove the gender binary, and regardless of how you want to divert that, no one has managed to do that, Cameron. Anyway, Mr. Zerb, the only scientific person here is you and your gender studies degree. I'm not studying gender studies actually, but you know, of course, the stereotype that anyone who dares to question the gender binary just has to have a degree they find worthless. Telling. But you know, I'm literally asking people to try and prove the gender binary. I'm trying to go through science to see what people would have to say, and what have we got so far? Nothing, just empty statements for people's biases. Lancer, pretty sad. We have to pin your own comment because no one else seems to agree with you to pin theirs. Like, that's on it. What? So what? If I pin my own comment, it means that I couldn't find anyone that agreed with me. Like, honestly, I'm pretty sure our comments agreed with me, and just because you flood a comment with Bearing fans doesn't mean that no one agrees with me. So, got a few likes, even if you want to ignore that. You just did it again, man. Cameron, your feelings do not matter when it comes to science. You know this. Yak, yak, yak. This is why you're seen as a joke to everyone, but the few extreme leftists you take company with. You are intentionally dishonest to anyone who challenges you. I highly suggest you look at yourself, not the things you think you know, but who you are as a person. I just really feel sorry for how cowardly you are. If you don't know my videos, no one forcing you to watching them, Cameron. A standard response to from someone who doesn't know what else to say. I don't know about you, but I intentionally watch videos I don't like because it reminds me of an entire world that exists outside of my little head. I just highly suggest you do the same on an honest, real level with yourself. Like, who is this guy? Like, honestly, seems to do it to everyone. Like, but you know, I mean, he came from a betting video, so I don't really care what many of their fans think. I once saw a comment saying black people were ugly, and pretty dumb. Which had like 100 upvotes on one of Bearing's videos. If those sort of people are ones who I'm supposed to be like getting good appraisal with, I'm not really bothered. However, of course, it's not fair to say all of them are like that before someone inevitably has a moan at me for that. However, let's just, I mean, when you imagine someone speaking like Cameron has just done to me in real life, like it wouldn't happen. Yeah, frankly, like if I'm a joke to these people because I don't think that gender binary is a very valid worldview to have, then I'm not bothered. I've asked for proof, as people should do in the face of questionable science. and none has been provided. Regardless, if you don't like my videos, no one's forcing you to watch them. Because he said, "Oh, you're so dishonest." So if you think all these negative things about me, then why are you here? I stand with someone who didn't know what else to say. Right, okay, then. I don't know about you. So he watches videos. I get that you watch videos you don't enjoy watching. Because I get that you watch videos you disagree with. Sorry, because yeah, that's a good point to. It's good to have listen to worldviews you don't necessarily always agree with. But at the same time, like, that doesn't mean you just like watch the same things you don't like over and over again once you sort of heard their opinions. Like, come on. And I say here, for all your waffle, you've not proven the gender binary, which is true. Mum Screwy says, listen to me. 100% of people with XX chromosomes have vaginas. 100% of people with XY chromosomes have penises. Occasionally, some people have trisomes. That's not even true, though, is it? Because like some men are born with like wrong chromosomes, or not wrong chromosomes, but different to XY. And some people transition and have surgery. Like, so that's not even right. Trisomes, yada yada. Genetic anomalies, different distributions of grey matter and white matter. Blah blah blah. QED gender is a binary. Now, I must admit, I don't actually know what QED stands for. Biology was probably my weakest subject at school, but I don't actually know what QED gender is. If someone wants to say what that is in the comments or in the chat or whatever, then please do. However, I don't actually think this is proof for a gender binary. Again, I see chromosomes being argued here. And there's no substantial link to chromosomes and gender. There's no proof that chromosomes determine gender that you would need to prove the gender binary. Mr. Zerb, at this point, I think you are just a sad, lonely basement dwelling troll. Well, you go through bearing videos to find other people's videos to dislike. So I mean, just look at the mirror, to be honest. And to be honest, like, I don't need to prove things to people who just think the gender binary is real, despite there being no proof for it. So, Mulong Pals, this person does not intend to, nor have the will to have a proper discussion. Well, I've asked you several times, guys, for gender binary proof, but not here, is it? Cameron, what's he saying now? Disagreeing is not equal to equate to transphobia. You're not doing any favors by continuing to be dishonest. Is that like his favorite word? Like, you can't even turn it off. Well, it's pretty transphobic to deny the existence of non-binary and trans people, I would say, especially when you have any actual substantial evidence to do so. Too. Let's see. I have a reply. It's just the same people over and over again at this point, really, isn't it? Is there anyone? Can you please link to your peer-reviewed studies that support your claims? Well, I think you need to be doing that because it's you who made the initial claim, Mr. Drum. It's you who needs to prove a gender binary. Therefore, it's you who should be providing me with the studies that show it is. Bob Leonhardt. To earn your claims as you have presented them in this post may be true. All you're doing is showing how useless the term gender really is unless you properly define it. Whilst it is true that gender does need some definition, I think it's important to define and to explore the meaning of gender. It shouldn't be used to just reaffirm the views of people who are above this comment, just sort of whistling on about how, like, chromosomes, look at your dick, like genitals, like, it's important to be able to have a conversation about gender without just excluding and alienating and ultimately trying to deny the existence of non-binary people. I don't see why we can't have both. And I would rather have a conversation which is more productive and more open than one which just goes around trying to alienate the non-binary people and reaffirm transphobes. What else did he say? I mean, yeah, of course. He's saying here, gender and sex are not equal, which I agree is the case. But simply saying so does nothing to help either help others understand what the relationship is between the two, or why they cannot be considered synonymous or even connected. Of course, they're connected. Like the majority of people will have the same sex and gender, like myself. Like and yeah, sure, I have XY chromosomes. I have a penis. Like I'm male. And that's probably the case for most people with those set of things. But that doesn't just mean that you can just eliminate anyone who's not in that set of conditions. Like it's a bit ridiculous to just say that because they're connected, that means they're exactly the same, which is what I'm trying to say. Um, Gender is practically useless due to its vague and nebulous term used by people such as yourself. Well, no, because gender, just because it doesn't have a direct, like, subjective definition, doesn't mean it's useless. Like, we have gender roles in society and the way we view men and women, and through that, we've adapted to see more than just male and female. There's like non-binary people and those who are a mix and stuff. And trans people. There's nothing wrong with expanding beyond just the initial binary thing. Next time, try to actually start explaining what you think gender is. Oh no, I've asked people to prove the gender binary, and they've tried to. Yeah, you've tried to derail it to this, just to try and sustain it essentially. But it doesn't change my point, which is that you can't prove a gender binary, which is the initial claim. It makes the conversation go much smoother. Well, what makes the conversation go much smoother is if people like Bearing don't make videos, flood the comments with just transphobic nut jobs, and people try and be polite and civil. But you know, not everyone is as good to do that, to be honest. So, what can I hope for? Then Savile. Chromosomes and genitalia literally are the proof of there being only two genders. The chromosome sets that don't wind up being X, Y, or XX are incredibly rare and considered mutations. Just because these abnormalities occur and at an extremely low rate at that does not in any way disprove that only two sexes. So he starts out saying chromosomes and genitalia are the proof of the gender binary. Just says that. Says that chromosomes on XX or XY are rare. And then says that for proof there's only two sexes. So the conclusion's not even linked to gender. And the whole, there's only proof this is proof there's two genders, doesn't even have any like substantial backing. So he's just said his argument without any backing for it, really. Like, honestly. The whole paragraph here. He wants a definition for gender. Which, yeah, it's tricky to accrue, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's an invalid or not unnecessary term. And it certainly doesn't mean we can just rule out the existence of non-binary people. Most people are male and female by a large degree, but that doesn't mean that non-binary people aren't valid. Gender is made up and not grounded in any sort of hard science fact. Really, how did you come to exist? A little bit lost on that one. No, that's replying to one of the ones above. See, the tricky thing is not everyone is replying to me, so like conversations are midway through here. Someone's linked something. Enough said. If gender studies class entices you to access such high and mighty heresies, sorry, I meant empirically tested science. Let's have a look. It's not even. Oh my god. The online free. Oh, but I have to. Oh, for goodness sake, really? Okay, I'm not registering for that, but what? You can't expect me to download an entire like account just to through these supposed things. I guarantee you in that book it's not going to show how gender is determined by the things they would need it to for it to be a binary. Gender permanence, the genital basis of gender. Maureen J. McConaughey. I don't know who she is. Is she like? Let's quick check. It's good to check authors. A lot of the times you'll find people who cite these sort of authors find it from like extremely conservative positions. So for once I was thinking to study trying to show that like black people were these like criminally inherent people, and you look at the study and it's from some conservative Christian traditionalist like society. So if gender and sex aren't the same thing or even related to each other, why gender would affect your biological sex? Your statements are very confusing because you seem to mix them together by yourself. Well, yeah, they're similar terms, but at core, biological sex and gender aren't the same thing. I didn't say they weren't related to each other at all. But I get the impression people just sort of hear things they want to when this sort of subject is brought up. It goes like this: your mother has two X chromosomes, and your father has X and Y. You get one chromosome from both of them. You always get an X from your mother, and either an X or Y from your father. If you get an X from your father, you are a girl. If it's a Y, you are a boy. Chances are around 50-50. This also answers the question about intersex people: why boy, only X, girl? Well, again, this isn't about gender, is it? This is chromosomes you're talking about here, and I'm not denying the birth process. It is worth pointing out that this isn't always the case, and that a man and a woman do not necessarily have to have the usual chromosomes for men and women, because gender and chromosomes are separate. There's no it's not like if you have a set of chromosomes, you cannot change your gender. Anyway, these people have just conflated sex with gender the whole way through this. I don't even talk about gender anymore. I'm going to move on to different comments in a second. XX and XY chromosomes dictate sex, ultimately gender, and it's done in a 99% of the way binary way. 99% of the time binary. So then what's the other 1% then? So this opening sentence essentially says that it's not a binary then, because you can, if there was a computer and it's like, oh, it's 99% binary, that would essentially mean that where 1% of the time is not zeros and ones. This is ridiculous. Oh god. What was I going to say? 0x Blondie 96 is it XO. McDonald, gender is the sex of your brain. There are two different ways that a person's brain can be wired, each corresponding to one of the two biological sexes. Gender to some degree is a spectrum. I'll give you that much, but it's a binary. What? It's a spectrum, but it's a binary spectrum. Well, that doesn't. All you can be is a varying degree of masculine over feminine or feminine over masculine. Well, that. Even if that is true, that suggests that gender is still a spectrum, and that there are more than two genders. Even do they not see what it is that is trying to be said here? Next, the devil himself. The very fact that literally everyone is linking gender to biological sex is proof that they are. What? So the proof for gender being the same as biological sex is that people say that is just rationality 101. They're the same, and no matter how many times you try and deny them, they'll not make it otherwise. Just can you imagine if someone said that about religion or something? Oh, the proof for God is that everyone says God is real. These people wouldn't stand for that. But they're happy to accept this. There's no science here. These people just honestly. Answer this then. What is gender? What is it based on? Why is sex always brought up in this discussion if they have nothing to do with each other? And prove your claim that gender is on a spectrum. So yeah, obviously gender and sex are connected because they're very similar things. The idea of male and female, masculinity, femininity, they are obviously linked to sex, but that doesn't mean that sex and gender are the same thing. They're asking for proof that gender and sex are the same, which you won't be able to do because they're not the same and you can't prove that. Thus, the claim is rejected, as I said at the start. Prove your claim that gender is on a spectrum. Well, gender is subjective, obviously, and in the mind. And I mean, the comment above this sort of says that. But at the same time, it's clear that we see varying degrees of how much someone feels male or female, and as gender is how you feel, it's in the mind. It's based on societal values and on the social sort of makeup of the world. Yeah, it quite easily is on the spectrum. The way the amount you feel male differs to that of others. People feel different amounts. Thus, it's on a spectrum. I don't see how that's a controversial statement. Intersex is a birth defect, not a separate sex. Well, of course you would say that. Science research into this sort of area is ongoing, as I've said, but I'm willing to guarantee that the sort of level it's being written off by someone like the devil is less than it really is. Positive history of the word gender, from Latin genus meaning race, kind, rank, or a male or female. Okay, so it's getting a load of definitions and stuff. For 100 years, gender referred to male, female, sex, only in the last few decades has it had any other meaning placed / forced upon it. Well, that's not an argument again. Like the progression of society to have more nuanced ideas around gender and the way people feel and stuff doesn't just make it wrong. Like you could again, people like believed certain different things about homosexuality for many years, and then it's only recently we sort of had more rights and equal treatment to a degree seen for LGBT people. So does that just make that wrong because for hundreds of years it was a taboo? Um, Anyway, well, nearly at the end, but Dubious says, Owen, what does someone's genitalia not equating to their gender prove? Why is it so hugely important? That's a good question. The fact that there is, I'm going on about this and sort of seeing this as the whole crux of the argument is that because to prove a statement, you need to provide evidence for it. And consequently, you need, if you want to say gender is a binary, normally the people who will say this will link it to genitalia or chromosomes. So it's important to ask them for proof that they can say that gender is determined by these things, for them to prove the statement that gender is a binary, and they won't be able to. So, and the importance comes from the fact that we see non-binary and trans people oppressed and abused and harassed every day, pretty much, both in real life and on the internet. And it's essentially over nothing because the things they're being harassed over are things of the false beliefs these harassers have. And transphobes rely on the consistent lies fed by something like the gender binary and the false information around it to validate their abuse of these people. So it's important to try and combat this because we should be trying to make people happy and have people productive and functioning and stuff in a normal society, in a fair society. We should want people to be happy. And as there's no good ground or valid ground to discriminate against non-binary and trans people, it's important to debunk the lies that help sustain that discrimination. Anyway, that's why it's important. Vesuvius. Well, if we are to say gender is what someone identifies as, no matter how stupid, well, if we are to say gender is what someone identifies as, no matter how stupid. For example, a person identifying as a worm, gender's like, oh, see already, like the people who just start with the this I am a squid or stuff, like just clearly not. You can see where this is going to end up. If we have to say gender is linked to biological sex, which is male and female, the word becomes much more limited. Linguistically speaking, the word gender was only used for biological sex, yada yada. Back then, there were, I should say, 4 genders: gender male, gender female, gender neutral, or gender indeterminate. Well, yeah, exactly. And we've sort of moved forward from that to incorporate more genders and stuff and see it as a spectrum, as science has done for quite a while now. I don't get these people sort of saying, oh, science says this, and they're not even listening to what scientists are saying. You seem to be arguing a straw man with Bering since he recognized the difference between sex and gender. Well, I mean, I'm not too sure about that. He's not ever sort of, if he recognized gender properly, he would be sort of not it's these sort of fans who are screaming about the gender binary wouldn't be so fond of him. Let's just say that. I don't be careful not to confuse the word gender and sex together. I don't actually do confuse gender and sex. I think you've been I think you might have taken Bering's point a bit wrong here. Yada yada. Oh, McDonald, try making a video in a lab coat and pure sciencey and stuff because it might help to expand your argument. You don't get to decide what is and isn't. What? So what? So your statements which have no proof should be just accepted. Honestly, these people. In a surprising development, adults are not going to turn fact declaration over to an 18-year-old socialist. Well, the petty insults aside, all I'm asking for is scientific proof that there is a gender binary, and no one has done it. This whole thread of people, not one person provided anything. Oh, actually, there was a book we have to sign up for, actually. But let's be honest, like, oh, was it all done? Oh, there's an abstract. Yeah, if you want to read back, you can. I might read it another time, but when was this? This was published in 1979, too. So, might going to have a get on a limb and say that science may have moved past what people thought nearly 40 years ago. Sid Wilson. Sorry, let's start. with the other comments behind my opinion. Why'd you have to go full retard? Great logic, Sid. You just got with proof there, haven't you? Like why? Where's the science? Where's the logic here? Where's the science? Bearing. Oh, and I just want to know. Well, to be honest, Bearing, you're a bit of a piece of work, really, aren't you? And we saw that video you made on the skeptic feminist and the situation there, which is just pretty deplorable. So for you to just be showing up and just be like, oh yeah, I just want to know this, like you're kingpin. Like, no, who are you? So like next, I don't see why people should have to just like respond to your questions simply because you ask them. Like you're the same as everyone else. Like flip it. So I'll answer this in the comments already. Another look. Yeah, I say myself. Another question you can ask me in the comments. Now, this was before the whole he made that piece of work video, but still, like, it's funny that he feels the need to make the like make a whole video about it, then ask, like, almost as though he just wants the little 31 there, just a little boost his ego. Regardless, I'm not interested in talking about Bearing. He's not that important. It's his fans I want to discuss. Oh, it's got one more comment here. I'll talk about that. Hey, just a quick thought. If gender and sex are completely separate things, I didn't say that. How can transgender surgery be a thing? Like, oh my god, talk about lacking logic. Why do they cut and slice genitals? I thought gender was in the mind. Well, that wouldn't contradict each other. Like the fact that some people have surgery doesn't mean that gender is like gone. Oh, no, honestly, like people take them seriously. I don't think they are completely. Otherwise, this is something. Science says there are two genders slash sexes, male and female. Science denies science and live in fantasy. Great, he's got a fantasy, or he's got whoever that is, got a fantasy elf thing. But let's be honest, like, where's the proof here? Two genders slash sexes. You just used it interchangeably. Like they're not interchangeable. Hey Owen, Hadron B says, you realize that intersex is a dead end mutation, yes? That wouldn't mean they're not sex, does it? A person can still be a woman and still a penis. No, sorry, it doesn't work that way. She's a penis, she's biological male. Oh, yawn. Honestly, like your chromosomes don't determine gender. And I don't see why a penis would stop someone from being a woman, to be honest. The DNA never lies. Like, I don't even get why you care so much, to be honest. Like, we're not going to be showing evidence, are they? David or Natty. I like his last name. Do you have some peer-reviewed papers for the intersex claim? And please from a respectable journal. I could probably find some studies about intersex people. I recommend you look for them yourself because they are. I'm not just saying that as like a people. Just look for it yourself way, but they are out there. You can find them. Gender and sex are both interesting topics where science is going beyond the whole two of each sort of modus operandi. I recommend going to sort of have a look at Contra's video on gender, and probably you can find some stuff about sex there too, because I would imagine that sort of crowd has got lots of good stuff there to read. Drone Tech Vanderhuge says, how do intersex people would reproduce? Oh, they don't. Well, that wouldn't mean they don't exist, do they? Anyway, regardless. Like that's just a thought to find other people. Sir Raphael Campbell, I don't know, nice name to be honest. Owen McDonald, those people don't really care about trans or non-binary fantasy. Like, we don't care that children pretend to be unicorns. All right, well, do I really have to read the rest of it? You know what he's gonna say. Like, don't give a shit. It's great. You don't care about incorrect ideas being accepted as science. Lovely. Problem starts with to participate in said delusion. Well, you should ask loads of questions. Well, it's just right to questions. Like science is an ever-changing thing, isn't it? When more correct ideas are and better, more accurate ideas are put in place, you question them. Like using this logic, science wouldn't have advanced very far if people just accepted the first theory and just never questioned it because of like, natural society. Mentally ill man cuts his dick off. Like it's just an unpleasant person, to be honest, isn't he? He clearly has no empathy, doesn't care anything for like any semblance of nuance in it. Just ridiculous. Massive cultural backlash. Well, you're that upset that people want to sort of go beyond two genders there. Cultural backlash. You will lose all of your gain. Maybe take us back to a moral and natural society. Well, you're what? So you're a front of minority. Like these people are just like honestly ridiculous. Uh, Thus, a person can be a woman and still have a penis. Yada yada. If having a penis doesn't mean I'm a man, and looking like a man doesn't mean I'm a man, how can a male privilege exist? Like you sort of see why these people just debate is sort of getting lost on a lot of them because like it's just being used to sort of get like gotchas and throwing things back at you. Like it's just a bit ridiculous, really. Like most people are male and female. That doesn't mean that non-binary people don't exist, and that because there are non-binary people, and just because some people have penises and look stereotypically male aren't male, I don't mean that male privilege is just erased. Like, oh, just so tedious, honestly. Um, I'll never end there with a classic joke. I'm a car. Good for you. Natasha Spirit says, trying to change your gender is like trying to change your age. It just makes you look insane when you try it. Whatever. You're just a figure, to be honest. You know nuance at all. Robert says, fucking retarded. You can't prove there are more than two genders. Basically, the same response as whatever one above here. But, what would I expect? More. Um, you can't prove there are more than two genders. Burden some proof from you, friends, because you made the question about gender binary first place, therefore you need to prove it. I'm going to sort of skip over these. I've been doing this quite a while now. Meggy89, what a name. Just lovely. There are more than the two gender slash sexes. If you are a fungus dumbass, great. The initial claim is on you. You need to prove it, but you can't. Whatever. I can already see chromosomes in one of these answers. I don't think there's any proof here. Great. Let's have a reader anyway. If there was more than the two genders, there'd be more than two genitals. Are gender and genitals? Are gender and genitals the same thing? No. Irrelevant. Proof scrubbed off. Bill Nye just mentioned here. You know what these people are doing. Gender for mammals only two chromosomes. No proof again. Is there anything here? This all relies on chromosomes being gender, which is not. You haven't proven it at all. You're just talking about chromosomes. Yawn. Pontus von Geiger. That have a nice name. Talking about sex here, chromosomes, birth defects, yada yada. Do not fit into the gender binary. It's not entirely everything we know about man and woman. But you don't know because you can't prove the gender binary. So how would you know that there's only two genders? How do you know that gender is confined to two? It's been better in force and you set a language for them. Just like we start assuming that everyone we meet might be blind or deaf. Right. So if you're non-binary, then that's the same, and you assume people might not necessarily be male and female. That's the same as assuming blind and deaf. Laughable. Mr. Zerb, this smug cunt can't even make an argument. What are the two majorities on Earth? What, male and female? What chromosomes do we have? X, and XY. What for S? Birth defect isn't a gender. Fucking Saddam. There's a whole genocide to down the toilet. Great answer. No substance. No value. Like, I'm pretty sure this guy I was responding to earlier. But again, no proof for the gender determines chromosomes. To majority genders, that wouldn't necessarily rule out the others, would it? At all. Correlation is not causation, my friend. Raises the time. Are you actually sane? In bold, I say no. Good for you, Panda. Anyone like him who skews logic and denies science, which is very stupid and ignorant and brainwashed. He could also be insane. Yada yada. No proof at all. So what are you going off? There's nothing here. Trevor P. Okay, here's a pair of questions. If biological sex in no way informs gender identity, which I didn't say in this video, why can you look at almost any civilization across human history, separated by immense time and distance, and you see commonalities in gender roles across biological sexes? Yeah, I don't think that's a very great argument to have, to be honest, really, is it? Because human history, the whole point of looking at history is to improve on things we've done in the past. And when we get better, um, when we have better ideas, you place them, don't we? It's like how for most of European history we've been pretty Christian and religious controlled, but then we've sort of realised that secularism is a better way to go. But you know, we've been Christian for most of history, so why change, right? Yada yada. I don't think you can just say male and female being the main cause of history proves this. Baz says weird cunts. Great proof, my man. Baz. I said weird is some people who believe something binary blindly. Jay Cummings says you're a weird cunt enter and you believe in non-binary. Oh, that's pretty ironic, Jay, because you believe in gender binary without a shred of evidence. So you know. Natasha Spirit, Owen, you seem to enjoy leaving conversations. Right and proof has been provided. Interesting how that happens. Oh, great proof, Natasha. You know, I did love how weird cunt proved the gender binary. That's some great. Dark Quake. Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, why'd you have to go on and on and on, bang away with this shit? Well, you could say the same to Bearing, to be honest, given this is where each video you came from. So. Humans, two sexes, male and female. That's it. End of story. Sex is not the same thing as gender. What you identify as, male, female, trans, gay, straight, attack, helicopter, or cheese fucking sandwich. Knock yourself out. I don't care. And indeed, wow, what a rational response. Anyway, just and again, no proof here. He's not even talking about gender, to be honest. I don't really see why he's going on. I'll ignore this because it's essentially the same thing. McDonald, just a question. Why does your hypothesis that gender affection not need any side proof just because it is the, in this case, secondary argument? Well, if we have ruled out the gender as a binary, which we do, we can see that gender is obviously in mind, it's objective, it's based on societal values, and thus the positions of which we place our genders and the different levels to which we feel male, female, or neither, or both, whatever, is different to each other. So it is easy to see that one would say, "Oh, I feel this amount of male," or "I feel not as male as this person," and thus you can say it's a spectrum. Now, oh look, an actually nice comment, Mexi. I really don't understand why people care how many genders there are. Lol. Like, if there are non-binary people, why is that a problem for people? Really failing to grasp that. I'm gonna love that comment because that's pretty much the it's the first comment I've seen in a while, which is like actually a decent value because I mean, just it's true. Why do these people care so much? Like, even if non-binary people are completely wrong, who cares? Like, honestly, these people need to get a grip. Thank you for a decent comment, Maxi. And you know what? I'm going to ignore the comments and apply to this because actually no. Let's see what people say in response to a nice comment. Natasha says, "I really don't understand either. All we're doing is getting identities and insisting that others acknowledge them as truth." Well, you have insisted a gender binary is true, but you provided no proof of it, Natasha. So no. I mean, let's ignore the countries where homosexuality is punishable with death. That is nothing to do with this. Like literally, you just how is that an argument against what people are saying about gender? Like honestly, yeah, it's so laughable. And if you want to have a better question, the whole two gender thing came from the same sort of people who would have been homophobic back in the day. Like it's the same sort of view of the world, which allows us to see only two genders, which are the same people who think that homosexuality is punishable by death. Bearing, I don't just ignore him to be honest. Convexy, yeah, exactly. Contrapoints his video. Fruits, you are going against something that's regarded as true for pretty much all of human existence. That is really great logic there. Again, a lot of people have believed in the existence of God for years, but that doesn't make it true. If I said to you, "Oh, the church has been around for a good 1,000 years," that means God's real. I think you'd probably laugh at me, and rightly so. But you know, anyway, attack helicopter, of course. Yada yada. Gender is a term used to define range characteristics of male and female sex. Well, yeah, to a degree, sex is part of it, like in terms of sexual organs and stuff. But I don't mean it's the case for everyone. I agree if people can fit into the category that's different from their sex. Good. That doesn't mean that it's not a binary, but it clearly does, because if you conceive it is not the same as sex, then where's the logic for a binary existing coming from? A billion genders. ContraPoints is an idiot. Simon Banks, you make some great contributions. You called out an idiot earlier, I'm pretty sure too. Just ignoring Natasha now. Cameron, again, doesn't the B in LGBT imply by only two genders? No, it doesn't. I get confused because SGWs keep moving goalposts. No such thing as an SGW. You're pretty boring, Cameron. Joke about Mother's Day here. Just ignore that. Pretty bad. Douchebag says because they're spreading false lies. No, they're not. And false lies, is that not a pretty self-defeating statement? A false lie. Some weirdo says this. Who states that sex refers to biological and physiological characteristics, find men and women. Gender refers to socially constructed roles. So what? Because the definition says that means it's true. That's not proof, does it? Is it? Pontus says Mexi isn't a problem until activists start pushing this idea into the law. Poor you. Non-binaries get the same legal treatment as everyone else. Poor you. In order to deny non-binaries, you need to be able to prove the gender binary, as I've said quite a few times now, and you can't. So, yeah. But I know places where it's illegal not to use people's preferred pronouns. You can get fined for it, you can get fined for it, and some places you can legislation to go to jail for this being to comply with these new gender theories. Like, I don't think this is so what you if you don't respect people's pronouns and trying to be nice to non-binary and trans people, you can face consequences for that. And I seriously doubt jail time is really in place. I mean, you can still call someone a nigger and not go to jail, to be honest, mate. So you're not under any threat really if you that worried about your transphobia. Compared to flat Earth, yes, because non-binary people is the same as flat earthers, isn't it? If some people want just to be non-binary and left alone, well, they do, to be honest. But then Baring makes a video on them and sends his fans to go and harass them. Oh, sorry. He engages the audience and they give lovely feedback in the comments. Better clear that up. Instead, what is happening is some people want to claim various non-binary genders and force everyone else to play along. Well, they just want to be recognised for what they are, which is a non-binary gender. I don't see why that's such a big deal to you, to be honest. You should probably sort your own life out if it's really that upsetting to you. Oh, yeah, legal requirements being implemented. Well, again, I don't see what's wrong with recognizing the not necessarily binary status of some people. James Gray says, Mexi, frequently demigirls and two-thirds people expect to be taken seriously to a point where they make up pronouns they expect to be addressing by. If someone asks you to call them a pronoun, just do it. It's really not that big a deal, is it? Like, be nice. Honestly. If someone changed their name and they're like, "Oh, could you call me Steve from now instead of John?" Like, would you be like, "No, not happening, mate. Oh, you're John, mate." Like, no, exactly. If you did, they probably wouldn't speak to you anymore. Progressive pushing this 50+ gender nonsense is bullshit. Well, people pushing the gender binary nonsense is bullshit because you got no proof for it. So, gender is a word. We've already gone over this one. Indeed, Owen should be able to produce a few studies that support his claims. Oh, touche, because you need to do that first, as you're the initial claimer, pal. Something about gods now, false equivalency. Getting a bit bored of this now, to be honest, I have to say. Blah blah. Oh, big answer here. The thing is that science isn't built on proving ultimate truths. Science is built on creating models of predictive capability and then trying to falsify them. And then something as predictive capability and withstood rigorous scrutiny without being falsified, then it's tends to be considered good science to manage to come up with a better model. Okay, so gender can only be two, right? That's the argument, that's a model. Now prove it, and you'll say, oh, genitalia, but how does that prove it? How does a penis just prove gender is a thing? Gender is a binary, even. Chromosomes, that's another one. How does that prove gender is a binary? it's all the same, really. Like, there's no proof for it. And some stuff talking about how science is built upon, and that's a good idea. That's a good thing. So gender binary, like, that's the idea, and that's generally right. Most people fit with male or female, but some don't. So the model should be updated because there's no proof to actually back up that gender is a binary. It's just sort of been accepted because sex and gender has sort of been the same thing for quite a while. But as there is a clear difference, and we can see that, we move on from old ideas. Like, I'm getting a little bit bored of these consistent, these similar arguments. Oh, and just up and run away. Yes, because I have time to just go over every single tedious comment posted here. People need to learn, especially Bearing fans, need to learn that we need to not go. What am I talking about? People need to learn that they can't just go and show up to through a video Bearing is targeted and expect answers, because when you act pretty rudely, when you just storm around acting like grown children, you don't get anything. You wouldn't be like this in real life, so don't do it on the internet, basically. Until you sort out your immaturity, you'll always be regarded in a pretty skeptical light. There's a reason people disable comments when you people show up. Let's just say that. And I try to answer a lot of them. I try to make the points, but there's a lot of people. Bearing has a large audience, so you can't expect me to reply to everyone at once. You can't prove that gender even exists. Well, it's subjective, of course. It's in the mind, and yeah, fine. It's not a physical thing to touch, but it's clearly something you can observe. But this person is only trying to say this to try to say that biological sex is a binary, and then prove out, say, oh, gender's a binary too. So yawn, scrub you off, eaten by hippo. We're running into the latter category. So now we're on to Tia Solterona. Verona, yeah, lovely name. Right, anyway, Owen, what is your thought on the idea of female penises and naturally by extension male vaginas? I follow you 100% on there being infinite expression of gender. Good, thank you. Glad you do. Understanding also like sex. Well, I agree. I don't think that it'd be much weirder to see sort of like infinite sex even, because obviously sexual organs are limited. There's anatomy and biology to consider and stuff. I think that yeah, obviously it's a different conversation there, but the idea that a penis can belong to a woman, obviously generally they are male, but they can be female too. And I feel as though we don't necessarily, yeah, obviously they're generally the male anatomy, but that doesn't mean that there are obviously exceptions to that, and we shouldn't just eradicate that simply because it's not the norm. There is only 3 genders. That is just some great English. Male, female, mental illness. What a shocker. Apache helicopter, yada yada. Just gonna skip that. Okay, then show me anything other than a dick or vagina. I'm gonna read a few more comments because they're just getting a bit repetitive now. I have no problem with trans people. If you like a woman or a man, that's your thing. There's only dicks or vaginas. That is not gender. That is honestly like the same point. When did gender become personality? The number of so many genders make it all personal. Also, when did fashion choice become gender expression? Empty statements, no proof. Let's just move on. X, Y, great. You play Pokemon or something. Real debate is definition of gender. Good. That doesn't necessarily. That's not to say that gender is against. Actually, no, that's a good point. Gender does need to be defined, and it doesn't need to have good debate around it. But we can move beyond having debates for just the case of affirming these are transphobes. Anyway, I'm going to stop there because these are pretty much all the same. If this has proved nothing, it is that the fans of Bearing do not know how to prove the gender binary because they can't. It shows people get very aggressive over pretty simple topics. And let's be honest, it's pretty much a case of feelings over facts, because there are no facts you can find to prove that gender is a binary. And consequently, it's time to move past that. Just a quick word. I was pretty disdaining of bearing in this video, and it's true. I'm a little bit fed up of having to see comments from the guy in the sense of, oh, this is my question, I will ask it to you. From someone who's obviously just made a video first and then sent his fans, or I say sent his fans, engaged his fans to leave a comment or whatever. But like, it's pretty pointless. You can just ask a comment beforehand if you really wanted to. But I mean, it's obviously not going to do that. Recent events, he made a video about the skeptic feminist situation, which I find to be pretty appalling. Just on top of all these stuff on Twitter, which is just sort of making fun of the situation of a dead person, bearing in mind. And then he goes and makes a video, and the video of Back Nature 2, where essentially his reaction was off. But like, that was his reaction to someone dying. It was all just a joke to him. And whilst he can't separate the joke from the reality, which is that of the reality of it, of course, being that non-binary and trans people are facing actual discrimination, I can see why he would have the view he does. It all is just a big joke to him, to be honest. So yeah, I'm a bit bored by bearing. And consequently, I'm bored by people saying that the gender binary is real when they can't prove it. So I hope this little video sort of goes to show the tedious nature of those who defend the gender binary. Sort of shows that no one proved it. It hasn't been proven at all. And consequently, you forget over times, guys, because the gender binary is an idea of the past. Hope you all enjoyed watching. I am finished.